Good morning, my fellow yogic travelers. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too as we continue to live, laugh, love, learn, linger, and live the life we love. It's Wednesday, so I always start off with my bad jokes day, especially for my Jewish friends out there. We often talk about the Jewish mother, and you can't psychoanalyze it. Even so many psychoanalysts at the beginning were Jewish, but the Jewish mother says Oedipus Schmedipus as long as he loves his mother. But Jewish mothers are very discerning. This guy brought three women over to his house. He says, "Listen, I have a fiance. I want you to see if you can tell me which one it is." So the three women sat down on the couch. She looks at him for like a nanosecond. She turns to him, "The one in the middle." He says, "How did you know?" He says, "She's the one I don't like." Oh boy. Should we go further or is that enough? Oh, very discerning. High standards, very, very high standards. In fact, so high, there was once a Jewish man elected to president of the United States. So he called his mom and says, "Listen, you have to come to the inauguration." She says, "How am I going to get to the inauguration?" He says, "Don't worry, Air Force One will pick you up." She says, "But I eat kosher food. How am I going to eat?" He says, "Don't worry, the chef at the White House will make anything you want." "But what am I going to wear?" "Don't worry, we have somebody who's going to help you make the greatest fashion. You look fabulous." So she says, okay. There on the day of the election, she's sitting next to the chief of staff on one side, the vice president on the other side. Her son puts his hand to the Bible, raises his hand, and just as he's about to say something, she nudges the guy next to him and says, "See the guy with the hand on his Bible? His brother's a doctor." Okay, so enough for the high achieving people. All right, so in your journal writing today, thanks. I always appreciate people making comments so we can have a little conversation on this. Who's living the life that you would like to live? And what do you think that life is like? I'm not saying you have to envy anybody, but we tend to project some power, some oomph, some clout on other people from the outside. So who is that? And what do you think is really like in their life? Of course, how is your life like that? Are you emulating or not? Anyway, everything we do is a kind of clutter clearance, clearing out a space for something new to happen in your life. Like in yoga, you got to give up certain things in order to make time to practice or study. Or most importantly, apply it to your daily life when you're not on the mat and you're not studying. So this is a part of what I call agency. You have to actively want this to happen. One of my metaphors is every house is wired for electricity, but until you contact the power company and tell them to turn it on, nothing is flowing. So your free will, you can go your own way, but the hands that are there to assist, you got to reach out for the light in order for them to not violate your right to do it your own way. You got to surrender to that. So remember that every increase of consciousness increases conflict. That's how it announces its presence. Conflict is the beginning of consciousness. It's not going to be smooth at the beginning. You're going against the habituation of your whole life, the social conditioning of your whole life. There are so many things pulling at us, tugging at us, demanding our presence, that we often discard what's rightfully ours and hang on to that stuff that doesn't really serve us. Even the Upanishads in the old days said, make a difference between prayas and shreyas, the pleasant path or the good path. The pleasant path doesn't last, and often it sells you out, turns out not to be as good as the image in your mind was. So the highest height of creativity is when we face adversity. The greater the adversity, the greater the opportunity for creativity. It's a different way of wiring your head when things go south. But according to my teacher, if you practice yoga sufficiently, intensely, on an ongoing basis, you're going to integrate your personality as you align your body, your mind, your nerves, your intelligence, your will, your consciousness, your conscience. You make yourselves one with yourself, one with other people, one with nature, and one with your maker. Now, I always like to say that we're all artists in different ways, even if you're not practicing a classical form of dancing, painting, sculpting, writing, singing, instrumentality, and so forth. But the way you live your life can be an art form. And Joseph Campbell's wife said that she thought there's very little difference between the artist and the mystic. But the main difference is the artist has a craft that keeps them connected to the world, whereas the mystic, everything takes them to the transcendent. And so everything can be a portal, a doorway to step through. See infinity in a grain of sand, as the poet says. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to make that how you live your life, let me just remind you that the number one thing is to look at things and think things that make you feel better more often, which is the way you align yourself with the source of your own existence, and that's going to give you kind of shock absorber to the bumpy ruts of life. And then remember, criticizing, grumbling, nursing grievances are fatal to the demonstration of spirit as it comes through your life. They prevent love from teaching you. And the only place where the demonstration can exist is in your own heart. Any love that's not in your heart doesn't exist for you, and therefore it can't affect you in any way, and it's really hard to radiate out that to other people. So I hope you do. I'll be gone for a few days. If I have a chance, I'll try to send you an old tape to fill in the gap. Otherwise, I'll be back next week. Have a great day.